Another common suggestion, and that was raised, is to scrap the PSLE, one of the sacred cows. I will admit, PSLE is far from a perfect system, and it does add stress, a lot of stress sometimes, to parents and students, and the minister too. But it happens also to be the most meritocratic and probably the most fair of all imperfect systems. If we scrap it, whatever we replace it with to decide on secondary school postings, I think it's likely to be worse. I came across two alternate systems recently. The Swiss, I was in Switzerland last month, they don't have the equivalent of PSLE. But neither do students have a choice on what secondary school to go to or to work towards to go to. They are simply assigned to the school nearest to their homes. I visited one of these schools, I spoke to the students, and they all go home for lunch because they say it's 10 minutes walk, 5 minutes walk, different directions, and then they come back to school. They didn't have a choice where to go to. However, in Switzerland, the affluent have a choice. They will pay to go to private schools. And in Switzerland, 7% of students attend private schools. Another system, Hong Kong, I visited them earlier this year. Some years ago, they did away with their equivalent of PSLE. But in its place, Hong Kong now uses school examination scores for P5 and P6. So each school have your own examination. They use P5 and P6 examination scores for each of these schools and use it for posting to secondary schools. But because different primary schools have different standards, so they have come up with a device and a tool to harmonize and to normalize the standards so that they are comparable. So in this case, the stress is somewhat transferred upstream. And like the Swiss, there is also a thriving private school sector in Hong Kong, which accounts for nearly 30% of school intake. The Chinese Development Assistance Council, CDAC, which I chair, is a self-help group. It has a program called the Supervised Homework Group Program. Here, young volunteers, they will spend a few hours every week tutoring and helping students from low-income families for their homework. On surface, this is to help them with homework, but the unspoken objective is for the volunteers to act as role models for the children, for the students. So I thought the volunteers will be a very suitable group who should have their opinion heard. And so I asked them, do they think PSLE should be scrapped? They have no vested interest. They have gone through the education system themselves, and they are now helping poor students cope with schoolwork. So I thought, let us hear their opinion. On the education system as a whole, they have many different views. But on PSLE, the great majority disagree with scrapping it. Why? The common reasons they cite, they felt that PSLE can in fact motivate these poorer students to work hard, and there are resources to support the poorer students. One expressed frankly that we can complain that PSLE favors the rich, but the rich are better poised to prepare their children in whatever alternate system that is in place. They say support the weaker students more, but don't take away the PSLE. So I think it's not a straightforward matter. This sacred cow survived for some very valid reasons, but what I think we need to do, we must do, is to reduce the stakes of this examination. Make it less of a do-or-die examination that is so important as if it will determine your whole life, which it doesn't. And there must be many other ways that we can do this to reduce the stake of this examination.